If I had one word to describe the US housing market of 2024, it would be relentless. So, for example, housing inventory ended the year up by 22% year over year. Average mortgage rates were around 7%, yet we ended the year with every single one of the 50 most populous cities with higher home prices, and the top 5 markets rose by more than astonishing 11% each. So in today's video, I'm going to cover this brand new report from Realtor.com, which covers the entire month of December, which is actually the first report I've seen which does that. So for example, looking at the National Association of Realtors, they will not publish their figures until the end of January. With that said, I have a lot to share in today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. It says here the number of houses actively for sale. This is talking about existing houses, excluding brand new houses. That was higher compared to last year, up by about 22%, marking the 14th straight month of growth. So every single year or every single month this year, we had higher inventory compared to 2023. But due to seasonality, inventory plummeted in December, which I'll share with you guys here in a little bit. Home sellers slowed down their activity as well. This is new listings that rose by only 0.9% this December compared to December of 2023. I have some insights about that as well, so stay tuned for that. Also, houses spent 70 days on the market, the slowest December in 5 years. So houses taking longer to sell, which is one of the main reasons why inventory is up by 22%. Also, the share of price reductions is essentially flat from last year at around 13%. All right, let's talk a little bit more about housing inventory. This chart is a really good one because they share figures going all the way back until 2017. But it is a little messy, so let me just briefly describe. So 2024 is this brown line, and the pink line is 2023. We started the year where inventory was only up slightly compared to January of 2023, but now again, we're up by about 22%, a larger gap compared to the start this year. We're also higher compared to 2022 in gold and also 2020 as well as 2021. So the highest level looking at post-COVID, but we're still lower than pre-COVID. So for example, here is 2018, 17, and 2019. So for the nation as a whole, we're down compared to pre-COVID, even though we're up over the past several years. Now, speaking of that, every housing market's different, right? So looking at data from November, this is according to Resi Club. They have not posted December's numbers yet, but I'll share the states which I believe probably have more inventory this December compared to December of 2019, looking at pre-COVID levels. So for example, in Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, and Tennessee, they all have more inventory compared to November of 2019. Now, once they release December's numbers, I'm guessing that we'll probably have more inventory in Alabama and potentially in Georgia as well, including potentially Nebraska. So even though for the nation as a whole, we're up compared to the past several years, again, we're down greatly compared to pre-COVID, but every market's different. These states, much in the South and the West, have more inventory from pre-COVID. In contrast, much of the Northeast and the Midwest has a lack of inventory, to say the least. All right, going back to Realtor.com's report, it says the number of houses under contract but not yet sold, that would be pending home sales, continued to rebound in December, increasing by 7.4% year over year. Just under 50% less, though, compared to November's 14.7% gain. So we're up by 7.4% from 12 months ago, but this is not nearly as great compared to November's gain, up by nearly 15%. This slowdown is at least partly due to mortgage rates increasing in November and December that were approximately 40 to 50 basis points higher than September and October. And of course, a lot of home sellers become home buyers. And when rates increase, that really de-incentivizes people to list their house for sale because they don't want to get rid of their historically low rate. Now, speaking of that, here's a really good article, also according to Resi Club, analytics.com. It says here, according to the third quarter data, this was posted yesterday, for third quarter data released from the Federal Housing Finance Agency, or the FHFA, 73.3% of US mortgage borrowers have now a rate below 5%. So approximately what? 3/4 of all people who have a loan on the house have a rate that's below 5%. And again, today's rates are around 7%, have been around 7%, by the way, for about 2 years now. So that share at 73% is this part of the pie right there. So the majority of homeowners have a rate below 5%. But look at this, 21.3% have a rate below 3%, and nearly 34% have a rate between 3 and 3.99%. This is this lock-in effect, which is causing people to really not be very motivated to sell their houses and get rid of their ultra low rate that potentially you may not ever see again at below 3%. However, according to Realtor.com's 2025 forecast, that shows that both lower rates and time are chiseling away this lock-in effect, or should chisel away this lock-in effect that has held back sales this year. We should expect home sales to rise modestly by 1.5% in 2025. I also believe this as well because we had 7% rates, around that for about 2 years now. And so buyers coming to the market are kind of accustomed or kind of used to these higher rate environment. And a lot of people think that rates or mortgage rates will decrease slightly this year. And because of that, and also because we have more inventory, giving more home buyers options, I also believe that we're going to see a modest uptick in sales this year. Having said that, like I mentioned in previous videos, we're going to end 2024 once NER releases our data in about 3 weeks from now. It should show that we should have around a 29-year low in closed transactions nationwide. So it's not very hard to have an increase or a small increase based on a relatively very low number, more or less a 3-decade low in home sales nationwide. So speaking of pending home sales, a future indication of closed home sales, here's a snapshot going all the way back until 2017. This is a little bit messy, but below right here, the brown line is this year. So pending home sales end the year up by 7.4% from 2023, which is the pink line. Something that really caught my attention is that, we have, fewer transactions compared to 2020 and 21. In those years, the average mortgage rate was around 3%. So we had a high amount of contracts being signed, and of course, a low level over the past several years. Now, having said that, remember we have fewer inventory compared to pre-COVID, right? This December compared to December of 17, 18, and 19, we have fewer houses for sale nationwide. Despite that, though, this is pretty crazy, right? We have more pending sales compared to pre-COVID levels. So for example, the lines below are 2017 in blue and 2018. And here we are right here, more pending sales compared to those years, and also more or less in line with 2019, which is the line in red, right in line with this past year. So that's the demand side. Let's take a look at the supply side. New listings, that rose by 0.9%, which is the brown line right here, more or less in line with last year in 2023, but higher than 2022. It is much lower though compared to 2017 through 2021 though. So here's my biggest takeaway regarding this. New supply hitting the market, new listings rose by only 0.9%, yet contracts being signed between buyers and sellers rose by 7.4%. Yet inventory rose by 22%. This tells me that inventory is not growing to a giant increase of new supply in the market because, again, new listings only increased by 0.9%. So this increase up by 22% is due to a relatively low level of home sales, but also as houses are taking longer to sell as well. So for example, you guys may see that there's overpriced houses for sale in your neck of the woods. Maybe they need a lot of work. They're overpriced and therefore they're just sitting in the market and they're not selling, which is causing inventory on a national level to increase as well. Realtor.com also shared inventory changes compared to 12 months ago, but also compared to the average pre-COVID levels. So for the US as a whole, we're down by 15.7% from pre-COVID, but again, we're up by 22% year over year. So every single one of these major regions, the Midwest, the Northeast, the South, and the West, reported gains. The biggest increase is actually in the South, up by 27%. Then we have the West, up by 24%. But all these regions, except for the South, is still down compared to pre-COVID, down by nearly 49% in the Northeast. In contrast, the South is up by 0.1%. This makes sense though, right? Because where is inventory growing the most compared to pre-COVID? Again, that's in Florida, Texas, and Alabama and Tennessee as well. When we look at the top metros that have inventory higher compared to pre-pandemic levels, they're predominantly located in the South, including Memphis, Tennessee is up by nearly 38%, Austin, Texas is up by 36.5%, and Orlando, Florida is up by 34.9%. In regards to how fast or how slow houses are selling, again, it took about 70 days to sell a house this December, which is 9 more days than the same time frame 1 year ago. And also, this marks the slowest December since December of 2019. To me, that doesn't really tell us a whole lot because, of course, we had our housing market was in skyrocketing in 2020 through early 2022. Of course, we saw a decrease in 2022, but the same the slowest pace since December 2019 doesn't really tell us a whole lot, in my opinion. But up by 9 days compared to 1 year ago is fairly significant. Houses taking a little bit over 1 week to sell from 12 months ago, which again is contributing to this rise of inventory, up by 22%. I'll provide a link in the video description below for this article because they provide the 50 biggest cities as well, how they fare regarding asking prices, and home prices, etc. So I'll provide a link below for that. Thank you everyone for joining me in today's video. Please like and subscribe. Have an amazing day. I appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next video.